Hello, KIDO listeners. This is it again. The Great Idaho Show. This is Dylan Stalker, your host, a multi-generational Idahoan, just trying to share with you what is great about Idaho. What an easy subject. How hard is this? I do this because I love Idaho and I love radio, but I'm terrible at radio. So bear with me. What this is all about is our guest. Today we're going to be visiting with Officer David Gomez, who is a school resource officer in Garden Valley, and he's got a little bit more to share, and we'll get into that. But before we do, of course, don't forget, we say this every show, Old Arms of Idaho, ladies and gentlemen. They are your ambassadors to America's heritage. They are the experts when it is related to firearms, Western and military, the collectibles. If you have a curiosity, Old Arms of Idaho, don't forget it. So once again, we're speaking with Officer Gomez, or David Gomez of Garden Valley School, and he has quite a bit to share. In more than just being a school resource officer, he is also sharing with parents and leaders all across the nation, if the world for that matter, about the online dangers, social media risks, and digital pitfalls. Welcome to the show, David Gomez.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
And I should clarify, you are Officer Gomez.
So I'm Officer Gomez and Deputy Gomez.
Deputy Gomez.
When I'm working for the Boise County Sheriff's Office as a resource officer, I'm Deputy Gomez. My online presence is Officer Gomez, but I also work part-time for the city of Idaho City as an Idaho City officer, so I'm Officer Gomez / Deputy Gomez.
Well, thank you. I do like to clarify your online presence because I hope that y'all go look up Officer Gomez. Throughout this episode, we'll keep repeating that because there are so many resources about the online dangers in the world today as it relates to our kids, and it's more than just being would it be school resource officer? That's what SRO stands for.
School resource officer.
As more than just being a school resource officer, which I believe is one of the most important leadership opportunities in any school. David's got quite a bit going on with that. So look up Officer Gomez. So Officer Gomez, how did this all come about? Give us a little bit of your Idaho story. How did we get here? Lead us up.
So I moved to Idaho to become a contractor for Micron. I have a bachelor degree in electronics engineering technology.
Okay.
I worked for Micron, 12 years or so. Then I saw an ad somewhere for Meridian Police Department was hiring. So I was age of 36, and all my friends were like, oh, you're advanced aged at 36. Yeah. I don't know that they're hiring people like you. But I started working for Meridian Police in the city of Meridian where I lived. In 2009, I did patrol for 3 years. Then they asked me to be the school resource officer at Lewis and Clark Middle School.
Awesome.
So Lewis and Clark Middle School is 1,200 students, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. In the process of doing that, I wanted to understand what the new social media was, because every problem I had at Lewis and Clark Middle School as an SRO had to do with social media. Either it's bullying,
sure,
sexting, drugs coming into school, people starting fights on the weekend. It's coming on social media. So in order for me to better understand the kids and their social media, I made a fake account at the school of a student at my own school. So I picked an East Coast middle school. I made a fake account. I friended 10 of the most popular kids who all accepted me that day.
Of course, when you're like friends, yes.
Once I did that, kids started friending me. All I did was share what the kids had, what the popular kids were doing. Within about 3 months, I had about 500 kids at Lewis and Clark who had friended my fake account.
Interesting.
Right, and the kids always think they're smarter than everybody. They're not going to get catfish. And here, they were adding me every day. I wasn't even trying.
Sure.
Once I did that, I started learning what was important to the kids. What was triggering them, what kind of acronyms they have, what kind of drugs were they doing. I could stop fights before they happened.
Sure.
I became one of the best people at finding runaway kids. So that's how I started learning. I started a little Facebook page for parents. Then after 2 years of that, I became an SRO at Mountain View High School, which is 2,300 students.
Yeah.
I did that for 5 years. Then I moved to Boise County Sheriff's Office, where I spent 5 years in Idaho City at Idaho City Schools as an SRO. And now this is my second year in Garden Valley. So I've run a gamut of different school sizes and shapes.
Boise County, Sheriff Scott Turner, I was lucky enough to communicate with him in the Sheriff series at one point. And, man, you got to have a tough job working for that guy. I tell you what.
He is one of my favorite people ever to work for. He lets me do my job, but at 3 in the morning, if I need him because I'm in a fight up in the middle of Roby Creek or something, I call him and he is racing to get there. No questions asked. Love that guy. And I know you had one of my other favorite people, which is Chief Labey, which is now Director Labey.
Sure.
But he was Chief Labey as I knew him for 10 years at Meridian Police, and loved that guy too.
Well, that's quite a transition. Meridian schools, that's city type school districts going out to rural schools. I lived in Rexburg and went to Madison High School and experienced that level of school. And then I lived in Hagerman for a period of time with a graduating class of 8. And just the wide difference of the issues and the risks that happen with children in a metropolitan area versus a rural area. What comes to your mind?
So in Boise County, unfortunately, we have people that come up there to hide.
Yeah.
And they don't understand that
Sure.
trying to hide in a little bitty town where everybody knows everybody's much tougher. But the different problems in rural was on Fridays, I would fill my truck with food boxes and go out and deliver food boxes. So I get to know the people. I get to know the problem, families, so that I can help them out. I can help make sure the kids are at school where they need to be. And you just know a lot more of the dynamics that's going on in families and the community versus in a giant school with 2,300 kids. You don't know nearly as much of the family dynamics or the
Sure.
community dynamics. But up in rural, you definitely know. You know their dogs. You know their families. And unfortunately, you arrest their parents in some cases. And so it's dealing with a whole different level of community service.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot heavier impact of influence in a rural community. Influence seems like it can catch fire on a group of kids a lot harder and faster than in the city sense. And that's hard to say. It feels like it's harder and faster because it's if there's I don't know 100 kids in the class and it affects 10 of them, that's a big influence factor. How do you relate to that?
It is a big influence, and the thing with small town kids is they don't have a lot of role models.
Yeah.
There's some kids who have never met a successful adult or an adult who cares about them just to care about them. So every person in their life can be a huge influence. From myself, the SRO, to teachers, to the grocery store person, the mailman. I mean, they know them all. They see them on a regular basis. And so each person that comes into a small town person's life is huge. Whereas in the bigger cities, they have lots of, they have neighbors, they have different people that they interact with every day that have a lot better chance of being successful, good role models for them versus small town kids.
It's like odds of engaging with a leader in the bigger towns versus the smaller towns. Your odds are just that much smaller, making the SRO such a wonderful opportunity to lead and be an example for folks.
It is, and you get a lot more personal contact, and you see the kids every day. Whereas at Mountain View, you could go through 4 years of high school, and I wouldn't even know who you are or see you. Or like, hey, is that person at my school? Whereas when I have 300 kids K through 12, I'm going to know you pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it gets pretty quick, doesn't it? Like, also, again, this is the Great Idaho Show, folks. This is about Idaho, Boise County, one of my favorite things to be a part of. And yes, having come from a small town myself, there was a few opportunities in my own life where somebody had to reach out and be like, hey, buddy, what are you doing there? That might not go so well. And had they not been there, it probably wouldn't, because I had quite a challenging, I don't know, young childhood, I guess, if you will. So it's great that you're on the program. I'm so happy that you're here to share. So if you had one thing to say about being an SRO to all others out there, I mean, what comes to mind?
It is one of the greatest, most influential, heartbreaking jobs you will ever know.
Yeah.
Because you're dealing with, you are a role model to the kids no matter what, but you're in their lives, and there's some kids that through no action of their own, because of parents or family
Sure.
or those kind of dynamics, you're helpless to help them, even though you know that they have lots going on at home. And you can only do what you can do at school. And aside from me going and taking a kid from their family, which I have done, but it's very rare, it's tough to just sit there and know that, hey, this kid doesn't have enough food, or this kid has parents who fight at home every night, or this kid is called 911, or this kid has meth parents.
Alcoholism and
Yep.
drug abuse as parents, for sure.
Yep.
Which comes along with a lot of other problems, mental abuse, like literally just verbal abuse and things like that.
Yeah, and so when you're dealing with kids who are on survival mode, I mean, it's tough to teach them school mode. So,
Sure.
they're thinking, hey, I hope my dad's not home today, or I hope my mom comes home tonight from jail, or, these kind of things. And, in Boise County, we have a higher percentage of that where kids live with other people than their parents. They live with grandparents, with friends. For whatever reason, we have a lot of that going on. So the community kind of has to step in, and they do. They step in a good way.
I mean, I moved out at the age of 15 for lots of not positive things. It's everything you're relating to right now, which is why I love this conversation. It is definitely something that I relate to because I had a good leader in my life. At a certain point, wasn't my school resource officer, but a school resource officer has such a great opportunity to engage with that. We're going to transition here into the next segment, which is where what you described, having a bachelor's in electrical engineering, going from technology in what was a technology boom, working at Micron and transitioning that into something of a great message for people all across the country, and understanding the social risks of social media or the online dangers and all the digital pitfalls. We'll talk about that in this next segment. This is the Great Idaho Show. This is Dylan Stalker, your multi-generational Idahoan in love with Idaho, in love with radio. I could get a lot better at radio. Bear with me. We'll keep at it, KIDO. We'll keep at it all day. And don't forget our sponsors. We've got to keep this show going with the sponsor. It is my business, Old Arms of Idaho, your collectible firearms, Western, and military specialists. Think about them like the antique roadshow of all that wonderful stuff. Once again, this is the Great Idaho Show. If you miss it today, thegreatidahoshow.com. We're talking with Officer Gomez, SRO of Garden Valley, Idaho. All right, welcome back. As the great Kevin Miller would say here on KIDO, you all know it. Again, the Great Idaho Show, we're talking with Officer Gomez, or Deputy Gomez, or David Gomez, in the many, many roles that he serves. Again, he is a school resource officer in Garden Valley, Idaho, but has a very interesting story about taking his education in technology and helping parents understand the risks that are present online. Not only is it just being a good leader for the school that you represent in the community, you've had quite a contribution. You dug into it.
I dug into it, and it kind of fell in my lap. It wasn't my intention to dig into it, but
Yeah.
it came at me, and so I just ran with it, and it kind of grew on its own. My small social media account that I started when I was at the middle school in Meridian, I just started putting tips out for parents. Hey, watch out for this app. Watch out for that app. Watch out for these things. And nobody else was doing that. Then at some point, one of the churches reached out. Hey, we like your content. Will you come to our church and give us safety night? Sure. And I think I went, and there was like 4 parents the first time I did a safety night.
Yeah.
But then the next time, it was a whole bunch of parents. And then as my Facebook kind of grew, it became its own machine. And so right now, I have 370,000 followers. Well, I get private messages from people all over the world. Hey, have you seen this app? Have you seen this workaround at the school Chromebook level? Have you seen this on phones? And so I get as much information from my Facebook page, almost as much as I do from the kids at the school. But I do get a lot of information from the kids at the school because I talk to them all the time. Hey, what do you think about this? What's going on here? While at the same time, when I was in Meridian, my fake account started getting solicited by predators. So not only was I able to talk to kids, but I started talking to predators. And so in Idaho, we hadn't done this before. And luckily, again, Chief Levy's like, well, let's run this through and see what happens. So one summer, myself and another person decided to do predator patrol. So we just parked some 13-year-old kids online. Let's see what happens. We ended up arresting more people than we could handle. And what I found out is I could get 15 different adults to meet in Meridian to thinking they're going to meet underage kids every single day. You just don't have the resources for that because every person that we arrested on that program, which in the span of 10 weeks, I don't know, it was like 8 to 13, 14 people that came. every person that you arrest, once you do search warrants on their accounts, you find real victims. And when you find real victims, now I have to call other jurisdictions. Hey, I need you to go talk to this kid. I think there's a problem. They might be a victim. And then you have to go to court in those jurisdictions. So I ended up flying to 29 Palms in California and talking, filling out reports for other jurisdictions. But every single person that you arrest turns into a big bombshell of,
of stuff to do,
yes.
right? I mean, and it's not being reduced, pardon me for saying that, stuff to do, but it's a responsibility that comes upon you that even in your own life, like, how do you say no?
Yes, it's very tough. And so then now I was getting the predator side. Now I know what they're saying to the kids because they're saying it to me. So again, I started sharing that. Hey, here's how the predators are getting to your kids. And I found out very quickly that the predators always put an emotional hook to the kids. Hey, my dog died last week, or my grandma's sick with cancer. Whatever they do, they start putting emotional hooks. Then I start seeing how they pressure them to go on to other applications. And I saw what applications they were using. So again, all this stuff I was sharing live as I was learning. And people were sharing with me back their own personal things. But at the same time, at the school, I developed kind of a group of kids who would let me know different things or would help me understand some of the things that I didn't understand.
Sure.
And at the same time, they were always asking, hey, what did you learn today? What's happening? So I was at the forefront when Snapchat came out. I was at the forefront when some of the other applications came out and some of their dangers. And, I've seen it evolve over time. And it's gotten much worse. I mean, there's no getting better. We haven't gotten better since it started. And I started being a resource officer in 2011, 2012, when not everybody had phones. Now everybody has phones. Fifth graders have Snapchat. Unfortunately, I'm taking reports from fifth and sixth graders who have already sent out nude photos. It is horrible. And the commonality between all of them is parenting, right? Parenting is having a hard time keeping up with the social media revolution that we have. And part of it is it's easy for parents to give kids a phone and, hey, here, play Roblox for 12 hours and I'll see you before bedtime tonight.
Well, so interesting you mentioned Roblox. Parents don't even know. I mean, I'm a parent. I've got 3 kids all in 3 different education levels, a grade school child, a kid in high school, a kid in college now, but they've all went through that right in the time frame. And Roblox became a big subject because how do you describe that? It's a open source gaming platform where kids can engage online with, it seems like literally no control whatsoever.
Yeah, so Roblox is popular between like 6 and 12-year-olds. Kids do play it past then.
Sure.
And it has 1,000 mini games inside that you can play. And some of those are user-created mini games.
Sure.
So you just go into somebody else's world, basically, and play whatever game they've created. Now, Roblox does not have a whole lot of controls for parents to use. I mean, the only control they really have is to turn off chatting with strangers or not. And, that's a minimal safety thing, but the predators get around that very quickly by making drawing walls inside the games or making spinning blocks to spell things inside the game. And I tell parents that, Roblox is one where predators know it's going to be kids there. And they're going to be on there fully. If you're a predator and you want access to kids, you're going to go to Roblox. And for the common parent to think about this, like, hey, if you were fishing, where would you go fishing? You're not going to go fishing at the mall. You're going to go fishing where the fish are.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
If you want access to kids, which lots of people do, they know to go to Roblox. And when I arrest people, in reality, when they're meeting kids, I check their accounts, and they have 5, 6 Roblox accounts. And these are 30, 40, 50-year-old men that I'm arresting.
It's such a real thing. I think people are aware of it today, but I think the challenge still is present, even through subtle things of like YouTube, just the content that people watch or kids watch on YouTube, and these people that are having their podcast or whatever put on YouTube and saying, oh, your parents, if they say this kind of thing to you, they are not actually parenting in the right way, and they start fostering the minds of these kids because they're basically undermining the parental relationship that you would try to build with them. How do we get around this?
So it has to be, as a community, we have to do education, number one, and we have to go back to some values, right? I ask kids all the time, hey, what's your values? And a lot of them don't even understand the question.
My goodness.
Right?
Yes.
It's like, hey, what are your values? Oh, I don't know what you mean by that. Well, what are you worth? Well, I don't know what you mean. And if they do tell me what they're worth, it's usually something to do with their viral videos or how many friends they have on some kind of social media.
Sure.
We need to get back to some family values, some worth. And whether you use religion to do that, or you use some community gathering spots, or you use, whatever you use, let's get back to some values, because we've lost those. And if kids don't have values, they're going to get it from whatever social media they're using, and they are consuming for 5 to 10 hours a day.
It's a lot of time, and I'm assuming we're similar than age, right? It was like the television babysitter, cable TV came out, and it was just, flashing through the channels. But that was tremendously regulated. I mean, I remember when it was like the kids trying to decode the box so they could find the adult channel, and that was about the extent of it.
Yeah, but we had 57 channels, right? I mean, if you were lucky and lived in a rich neighborhood, you had 100 channels.
Yeah.
But 57 channels, most kids were not able to stay inside and watch TV all day. I mean, your mind says go outside and play at some point.
Check out Officer Gomez on Facebook. Where else can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram. They can find me on YouTube. I have a lot of educational videos for parents, and on TikTok.
Officer Gomez, this is about how your kids engage with the online dangers, but it's a lot more than that. This is about leadership, community engagement, how we communicate with children at a very young age. And I really, really, really appreciate what you just said. And this is something that if I could have a personal mission, I would instill it. But getting character back into schools. What are the character values that we would want to live by? Honesty, responsibility, grit, all of those wonderful things. And I would rather have a young individual with high character than the most intelligent person in the world that didn't have any of those values whatsoever, because they could just be a messenger of evil for all that matter. This is Dylan Stalker, the Great Idaho Show. We'll be right back with Officer Gomez. We're going to get back into some more of the SRO role, the school resource officer role, and the challenges and just kind of what you experience. I think it's good for people to hear. We'll be right back. Welcome back, KIDO. Hey, we forgot to say before we left that last segment, first of all, this is Dylan, the Great Idaho Show, every Sunday at 11 a.m. on KIDO. This is all what's great about Idaho. Don't forget, Old Arms of Idaho is great about Idaho. They are your firearms, Western, and military specialists. If it's collectible, if it's a curiosity, give them a call. They'll help you out. Today, we are talking to Officer Gomez, as you would often find online, which I would encourage you to go and take a look. In this last segment, we just reviewed a lot of the online risks and dangers. And in this program, which you can go back to thegreatidahoshow.com and re-listen to it, he tells a story about how he ended up getting involved so closely with the kids and what's happening. It was a description of, it seemed like a lot of the problems were based around these wonderful, not so wonderful little cell phones that we have here and all the influence and all the different things happening. But in today, we're going to focus on some of the hard truths of the SRO role, or this segment, I should say. Right now, what are some of the biggest challenges you think yourself or an SRO faces?
So we have the cell phones is a huge challenge. Next is Chromebooks. Next is vaping. Those are the three challenges that every SRO administrator is going to have to deal with.
Okay.
Having cell phones in the school is horrible. Kids are addicted to those cell phones, and I tell schools now, and I train in schools all over the country. So once a month, I fly to whatever state.
Okay.
And I go into the schools and I train the students, but I also train the staff. But I tell administrators all over the place now, you can either have cell phones or education. You can't have both.
That's a pretty binary path there.
Now, fortunately, West Ada, what's one of the biggest school systems around, went to their whole school system is phone free now. Now, each administrator is going to do that differently. Some of them are like, okay, we'll kind of follow that. We won't follow that. But the kids cannot learn when they have their addiction in their pocket.
Sure.
That's all there is to it. Now, the second thing is Chromebooks. Kids can get on Snapchat through Chromebooks. They can get on YouTube through Chromebooks. They can bypass almost everything there is. even with the school, most of the schools have software on there. Go Guardian is one of the top ones, but there's some other ones. It can't hold a candle to the workarounds that the kids find, because they have this network of 24/7 support from around the world teaching them how to hack the Chromebooks.
And it's all that hack is delivered right through YouTube.
It's right through YouTube.
How to get it done, right?
Yeah. So, for example, YouTube. Hey, my kid's school filters YouTube. They do, but all the kids have to do is take the link to whatever YouTube video is filtered, and they put it in a Google Doc, which all the Chromebooks have, and now it's unfiltered. That's how easy it is for them to get YouTube.
It's literally that simple.
It is. You just take the link, you put it in a Google Doc, and now it's running through the Google Docs application and not the filtered YouTube application.
Well, and I think that people are fooled. I, as a parent, is like, we take steps, right? You have your Android phone and you set up Family Link, which you can control the amount of time that they're on their phone and control what times that they are on their phone. But sounds like a pretty false sense of security.
It is a great false sense of security. So, I always tell parents, if a Chromebook comes home, it has to follow all the cell phone rules. Make sure it doesn't go into bedrooms. Make sure that it's being used in a central location where you can see what's happening and kind of monitor what's going on. It's like, hey, does your kid really have 6 hours of math homework? And one of the easy ways to tell what they're doing is if you ask them to come to dinner and they're like, oh, just a few more minutes, that means they're doing something not so homework on the computer. If they're like, oh, yes, I can't wait to come to dinner, or I can't wait to do something else, then okay, it's probably legit. But it is a problem, and it's a new way to teach. We're still learning all this stuff, but parents still have to do their part, do their due diligence, just as they would with cell phones, and make sure that the right things are happening.
Isn't that just an application of parenting where, before all of this, the world was a very dangerous place and is and always has been. There has been, before the cell phone, there was predators of different types in different ways. And the parent's job is to educate the child of those risks and to recognize the signs of when they are about to get lured in. One that I recently watched of you, just looking at your content, was how kids end up being lured out of the home to become trafficked. And I hate the word that comes ahead of that, but how the manipulation comes into play.
Yes, and it is a different world. However, basic parenting rules still work just fine if parents do it. The problem is those cell phones. Parents give the cell phones and then they bypass all the other parenting. People ask me, hey, how can I be a good parent to my kid? Be an intentional parent.
So how would you say that to someone? The cell phones now, I mean, when we were kids, my mom would kick me out the door and be like, I don't want to see you till 5 o'clock, and would have no idea. And that was in Boise, Idaho. I'd jump on the bus with a friend and go downtown and be skateboarding. And trust me, when Dirk Kempthorne was governor, it was a crime. We were in trouble all the time. But, how do you have that conversation or encourage a parent to, not give the phone? How do they not do it? It's like a binky now.
Yeah, so I tell parents intentional parenting, number one. Number two, sit down as a family. And so my wife and I, we take in foster kids and we take in high-risk teenagers that nobody else takes in because we have an empty house, so we can do that, and it's low risk. But when we take them in, first thing we do is have tribal council is what we call it, and we sit around and say, hey, let's have a team talk.
Yeah, right. Like it was a team meeting. That's what a team does.
It's not hey, we're preaching at you. We're not yelling at you. It's a team talk. You're part of our team. You're part of the Gomez family. Let's have a team talk. And in that team talk, we discuss, hey, how many hours a day do we think it's reasonable to be on cell phones? And so we'll talk it through with the kids, right? And whatever they say, we'll do the same thing as parents, right? Because I don't need to be on a cell phone more than the kids. And so the American Union of Pediatrics or whoever they are, 2 hours a day is a good place to start. In fact, 2 hours should be your final.
Like the other maximum, right?
Yes,
yeah.
But I tell parents, let's go with 2 hours. And you can check your kid's battery on whether they're Android or Apple. You can check their battery from yesterday and see how many hours they spent on what. 2 hours. Once you do that, then your whole family is starting to understand, hey, look, as a family, we're doing this as a team. We're getting rid of all this social media stuff because social media and cell phones rob time from kids. It also robs time from adults. right?
Sure.
I myself, if my cell phone comes up and says, "Hey, I spent 3 hours per day every day this week," it's like, man, what could I have been doing better in those 3 hours? Lots.
100%. It's holding you back.
Right, so it does the same thing with kids. So when I'm talking to parents, hey, let's start with 2 hours. If you need to adjust it, or if there's a special, by all means, right? But do it as a team, as a family team. The other thing is, write down your values. Right, post them up on the wall. What are your family values? And I know when we get to high risk kids, one of the first things we tell them that our value is we cannot be offended by mere mortals. Right, and so the reason we do that is because a lot of kids have no self-worth and they feel like they're being bullied even when they're not. So I say, okay, why do I say this? I say this because we want you guys to control your own thoughts and emotions. And it's easy to get sidetracked on social media with that. You can get upset over all kinds of things. But as we demonstrate that as a family and as we talk it over with the kids, within a month or so, our kids in the Gomez house, no matter where they come from, they cannot be bullied anymore, right? It's like, hey, you control your own thoughts. You control your own emotions. And that is a great learning tool and a great skill to have, because not only are you going to get mean people who talk to you in middle school and high school and college, at jobs, as you're driving in traffic, people are upset. They're going to want to control your thoughts and emotions. And the best you can do is control your own thoughts and emotions. And that has helped me immensely as a police officer. I don't care what people say to me. I kind of grin at them. It's like, you're not controlling me. I'm controlling me.
Yeah. And you're in control of the situation, which has got a lot of things that could be transpiring with them. I appreciate that you say that. It is about posting your values. I have two that in my family came from my military background, which is there's no two worse things in the world than thieves and liars. And if we could just get rid of all of that alone, the world would be a better place, because the bad actions of many come from the fact that they lied or that they stole. In a little bit of a question, before we go to our final segment here, I would ask about one other digital application. What do you think about the gaming platforms and their safety and security risks? As far as Xbox, PlayStation, the console games.
So they're just as bad as anything else. And a lot of times they want you to go to side applications like Discord.
Okay, I'm familiar with that, yeah.
And so, you go to Call of Duty and then they start a Discord group. Hey, we're going to have a Discord group. Well, what happens with this is it gives predators a starting point to talk to your kids. Hey,
sure.
I'm friends with you on Call of Duty. Nice game last night. I've never seen anybody team, like you. Whatever. You stabbed a guy in the neck when he wasn't watching. Whatever happens, but it gives the predators another something in common to start off with your kids, and which is horrible. Right, and the kids always have a little bit of trust with the people on Discord or with Stitch, because those are both known as gaming platforms, and they feel, hey, look, this is my group, these are my people.
Sure.
So just as bad as anything else. It's not worse or better. It's just same. You still have to be an intentional parent and talk about them. So
just before we go into this final segment, describe intentional parent. Share an example.
A perfect example is, how many hours a day are we going to allow kids to be on social media?
Okay. Asking the question maybe to them and setting the line and getting it done.
Are we going to allow our kid to drop F-bombs at school?
Sure.
Right.
Language.
Just, hey, come up with a plan. I want you to have a plan as a parent. That's intentional parenting versus whatever happens and we'll kind of take things as they come. Let's have some planned out activities and some beliefs and some values that we're going to abide by.
Well, today, folks, KIDO, we're talking to Officer Gomez. Look it up. Officer Gomez has learned through pure experience the dangers of what's transpiring in our schools, and it sounds like it's all connected to that digital little devil that we're carrying around in our pockets. And there's a lot of wonderful resources, and from what I understand, I can assure you there is a lot more going on than you ever thought that it was. This is the Great Idaho Show. This is Dylan Stalker, your multi-generational Idahoan, talking to Officer Gomez. We'll be right back in this next segment where it's just kind of me saying, hey, Officer Gomez, what should we talk about? What do you have coming up? KIDO, you're out there. Welcome back. This is Dylan Stalker, the Great Idaho Show. Once again, we're talking to Officer Gomez, Officer David Gomez, or Deputy Gomez, or many different titles, working with all sorts of folks, but mainly working with our children in the schools at the Garden Valley School, a school resource officer. But look up Officer Gomez as it relates to the dangers of that digital devil in your pocket and what you might be giving your kids. This final segment, I'd just like to turn it over to you, Officer Gomez. What would you like to share? Things to talk about, resources, anything you want.
All right. Well, let's talk about some positive things, right?
I love it. Yeah,
you don't get
thank
enough
you.
positive on radio these days or on anything. Let's talk about some
100%.
positive. So while I was at Mountain View High School, I had a mom come in to meet with her kid and the administrators about something was going on. And when the mom showed up, she had no shoes on. It was a really hot day. And I'm like, why aren't you wearing shoes?
My goodness, yes.
And she said, well, my son and I have only one pair of shoes, and he gets the shoes if he's at school. And then when he gets home, I get the shoes. I'm like, this can't be happening in Meridian,
Seriously,
Idaho.
right?
So I started, hey, let me see who needs shoes. And then not too long after that, I ran into two kids that were getting their shoes fixed by the janitor. So the janitor was doing his best to glue gun them. It's like, oh, this can't be happening. So I made it my mission, let's start getting some kids some shoes. So through that, I did a class for a group of dentists. And they said, how can we help you? I said, I need shoes. And so what came from that is they actually went down to the Nike store in Meridian, the outlet store, and they put a $500 credit card in the back called the Officer Gomez account. Wow. And so I was able to take kids who have never had shoes or needed shoes. I can take them in there, and that Nike store would treat them so good because they know the kind of kids I'm going to bring in have never had a new pair of shoes. And so I ran out of money with that. That lasted a little while. So then Mountain View High School did a 50-50 raffle at one of the football games, and they gave half to the Nike shoe, which was awesome. So they put a couple thousand. So then I expanded that so that any law enforcement in the Treasure Valley can walk in the Nike store with a kid or without a kid. You know, like in Garden Valley, some of the kids I'm taking shoes to, they can't make it here.
Sure,
right?
somebody needs
Idaho
help for
City,
sure, yeah.
Lowman, whatever. Some of them can't. So I'll just go in. I need a pair of 11, 12, 13, 14, whatever Nike shoes. And so that program has expanded to any law enforcement. And so I got people from Gooding. I have people from Emmett who will go in and use that, and with or without kids. But what's nice is they do treat the kids really good. They let them cut off their security tags. And every time I put on my social media that I need a little bit more money, everybody flocks to there and puts more money on it, which is awesome. But if you need something good to give to, those guys really do a good job with the Officer Gomez card. And you know, from their perspective, when I talk to them every time, they say, Gomez, every time you put this out, they said it's just inspiring because we get people that come in and put $500 on the card. But the other thing we get is some kids that come in and put their, $10.42 that they just saved up for.
Yeah.
But that is a program that's not only good for the kids that are donating, it's good for the kids that are receiving, because some kids in Idaho have never had a new pair of shoes, right? And I've had more than a couple of them explain to me this is the first time they've had shoes in a box, because they usually get hand-me-down shoes, which makes it rough.
Man, I didn't know. And I have to tell you that one speaks to me greatly, because there was a time of my life where I didn't either. And it was some things that you described. This isn't about me. This is about what you're doing, but it speaks to me. And even today, my drawers are so full of socks. I buy more socks than I can possibly afford today because I didn't have any when I was a kid. Just socks today as an adult is one of the most powerful things, just for socks. I mean, I can't even imagine what that means or feels like, having been a child that had the plastic soled Payless shoe that turns into a pair of flapjacks in about 5 minutes. I love it. Where could somebody donate if they were just looking up right now?
So you can just go down and walk into the Nike store and say, hey, I want to put this on the law enforcement card. They call it the Officer Gomez account. And it's been there like 10 years now, which is awesome.
That's excellent. I love that. And if you're already out there, it's not that hard to stop in. That's in the mall?
It's not in the mall. It's in the village.
So in the village.
Kind of the outside of the village.
Okay, cool. So after I get past certain little borders, it's like going to another country for me. So in the village, the Nike store, the Officer Gomez account, what an awesome mission. I love it.
Yes, and so one of the other things I do is we have some really, poverty-stricken kids in Boise County, and I want to make them feel good about themselves, whatever I can. So I have different programs, but one of them that worked really good is I give some of the boys who show any kind of interest in mechanical stuff, I give them a $30 toolbox, and I put in a duct tape, a 6-month out date. And I tell them, look, if you use these tools and you keep all the tools together, 6 months from now, I'll upgrade you to a bigger toolbox. And so this is something that's theirs now. They've never
That's
had
amazing,
anything that's
yeah.
theirs. It's shiny. You know, most of them are chrome.
Sure.
They love it, and they're always excited. Hey, look, this is mine. And every kid that I've given it to is anxious, uses it, and then I upgrade them to a second level box. There's about $80, $90, $100 toolbox, and then we have a $200 or $300 toolbox, and then we have just a monster toolbox. And I've had several kids go through all the levels, but what that does is it gets the community involved, because I'll tell them, hey, I need some toolboxes, and I get more toolboxes than anybody. But it is such a nice thing to see kids learn something, learn to have something, to take care of something, and to be able to upgrade. It also is very nice for the community to be able to give something they know is going to be used for that purpose, which is awesome.
I love that there's a potential connection that also just is such a wonderful leveling up program to have self-worth and participate in something, but they might just start tooling on something and blow your mind.
Yep. And so I had one kid in Horseshoe Bend that fixes everybody's bikes. So I gave him a nice toolbox. We gave him a whole bunch of inner tubes. Awesome,
Yeah.
And I think he had a little sign out there. I can't remember what, but he was charging for a little bit. And then he just fixes everybody's bikes. Like, how cool is that you start growing up with a skill? Then, in high school, it turns into cars. Boise County Hunger Project is another one that I really like. They collect food for food boxes, and they give them out twice a year at the school. Hey, come get your food box for, I think they do it near Thanksgiving, near Christmas. So you got a little bit of food. And it's a pretty good sized food box. But they also give them to me so that I can go out and make contact with people. Especially in the summertime, we get a lot of people on Grimes Creek who just go and camp there, and they don't have a lot of anything. And there's a couple places in Garden Valley, Horseshoe Bend with the same. So I get to go and, hey, would you like some food? And I give them food box. But what it really does, it gives me a connection to them, right? The food, they appreciate the food, but the connection is what I want. And with families, I'll tell them, I don't care what your living circumstance is. If you let me in, we can fix and work through anything.
You got to get started somewhere. And I've got to say this because I could do this with you for hours. I think this is so important. It is tremendously important. Some quick review. Let's get character back into the kids. Let's be intentional parents. We're talking to Officer Gomez. Look up Officer Gomez for tips and tricks on how to keep your kids safe online. This is the Great Idaho Show. Anytime at thegreatidahoshow.com, right here on 580 KIDO. And don't forget, Old Arms of Idaho, your ambassadors to America's heritage. They are your firearms, Western, and military specialists. Thank you, KIDO.